Welcome, my friends. Welcome to my world. I'm your host, Kevin Rutherford. It is Thursday, November 10th. I almost said October. November 10th. We are here live, and it is a free-for-all today. We have no guests. I really don't have a theme or a topic today. I've got some odds and ends all over the board, just kind of catch up on a few things. So really looking for phone calls today. Phone lines are open. The number to join us, 855-950-3835. We can talk about anything today. If you want to talk about fuel mileage, we can. Maintenance, what's going on in the industry, rates, truck prices, you name it. If you want to talk about politics, I will certainly do that. I made an announcement yesterday, and I'll probably post something on both the tribes about this. I'm really going to take a hiatus here from politics. I've been spending way too much time on it. And not because I feel like I have to. I do want to keep up with what's going on, and I want to be an informed voter. But, I started to get into politics the way people get into sports. I'm fascinated by it. And after this midterm election, I just don't see much of a point in it. I don't know what's going to happen to politics in this country. I don't know what the next 2 years are going to be like or what the next election's going to be like. We haven't even figured out this election yet. Arizona is talking about they'll work through Thanksgiving, and I think they even mentioned Christmas. That's an embarrassment. How can we not count the votes when they come in? Florida did a hell of a job of it. There are whole countries that count their votes way faster than some of our states can. And when we hear it's going to be a month, something's just really, really broken. So, as fascinated as I am by it, I'm just taking a total break from it. I will probably just set up a news feed that every once in a while I can just scroll the news feed and kind of stay abreast of what's going on, just the big picture stuff. I am just not going to spend any more time on the details and the bickering and the back and the forth and the insanity that I'm seeing. I believe it or not, and I hate to keep picking on this guy, but I think it was on CNBC. One of their hosts is talking about Fetterman for president. And several of the panel members agreed, and they were talking about it like it could be a real thing. And honestly, I guess, with Biden's mental capacity these days, I hate to keep picking on him for that, but we would not allow people that exhibited those mental traits and behaviors to do most jobs in the United States today. We would be worried about them. We wouldn't let them near anything that was safety sensitive. And yet, it's our president and now a senator, and they're actually talking about him for president. I don't even know where to go on politics with that. So I'm done for a while. I will take all that time and I'll work on research and projects, and I'll be able to serve the tribe much, much better with that time. So I just need to break my addiction to that, and I might have to go cold turkey for a couple weeks. And now would be a good time. The next 2 weeks, all they're going to do is argue about the results and wait to see what happens. So I might just go total cold turkey, no reading anything about politics, certainly no watching it on TV anymore. And then we'll see. I'll go back and I'll set up a way that I can just stay on top of the big issues. But for now, if you wanted to talk about it, I can. Totally up to you. And really anything goes today. Calls are already starting to come in. I had some updates I was going to do and some odds. Well, let me do just a couple of them. Twitter. I can't believe what I was missing on Twitter. I'm glad I didn't know, because I would have been tempted to get on Twitter, and the way it was being run and censored, and how lopsided the censoring was. You know, they can make the excuse that they won't allow hate speech and dangerous speech. The problem with that is some human being has to determine what that is. And unless it's the most extreme cases of really serious death threats, I think it should be allowed, just like we allow free speech in our society. I can walk around saying things like, you know, all of the Democrats or all of the far left progressives should be shipped off to another country, or I can make all kinds of crazy statements. In real life, there's no consequences to that. We have some specific things you can't say, but they're really extreme. Social media took it way too far. And not only did they take it way too far, it was totally lopsided, and you can't argue that. When the Ayatollah or ISIS was allowed to have an account and the sitting president of the United States wasn't, you can't make an argument for that. So I'm glad I didn't know what I was missing. I honestly had not looked at Twitter in probably a decade. I looked at it way back when it first came out, and thought, this is just dumb. I don't even understand how or why I would use this. That was my mistake. I made another big mistake when I first got on it and tried it way back then. I was focused, obviously, on gaining followers, because what's the point in being on there if you're not reaching people? But I didn't really understand how important it was to follow people. So this time around, I'm really, really excited about how powerful of a tool Twitter can be if I use it correctly. I've probably spent, not exaggerating, 15 hours in the last week or so. I started looking when the sale actually went through with Elon Musk, and that's the reason I'm back. I mean, I wouldn't be there if it wasn't for Elon Musk buying it, saying he's going to return it to, some sort of free speech and make it balanced. Doesn't mean they're not going to delete people or get rid of posts or try to minimize posts that are just pure hate speech. And that's fine as long as it's applied equally. And it's not too heavy-handed. Even if it's equal, but it's really heavy-handed, then I'm going to have a problem with that too. I kind of trust Elon Musk on this one. We'll see. Time will tell. Oh, hold on. I better check my show chat here. I'm getting all kinds of messages. No, we're good. Okay. I'm finding it a very, very powerful research tool. I haven't been able to eliminate all of my news aggregators yet, but I'm working on it. And it will improve my research quite a bit. It's much easier, and people are far more active on Twitter than they are on their blogs or news. So in my news aggregators, you could follow magazines, journalists. You could follow people if they had a blog and it was set up right. But, people don't blog 10 times a day. Many people tweet 10 times a day. Not that it's all important information, but usually there's a couple good nuggets in there. And my following list, the people I'm following, is getting really big. There's just a tremendous amount of information that I'm interested in and should help me serve the tribe better, which is the point of all of this. So I've been working on setting it up, organizing it, figuring out the best tools. If you want to follow us on Twitter, I would love that. The handle is let's_truck. So it's at let's_truck. We're going to start putting that link out on more of our correspondence, so we'll make it really easy to follow us on Twitter. Even though I'm pretty new to it and I'm still getting it set up, I've been trying to be pretty active, tweeting multiple times a day. Right now, I'm going to experiment with a lot of retweeting. maybe because I'm just picking up a lot of good stuff already on Twitter. No point in me recreating the wheel. So sometimes I'll retweet it with an idea or my thoughts on it. Other times I'll just retweet it. I'll just, find, you can follow and see the kind of information I'm following and interested throughout the day. We are also setting up both of the tribe sites so that when I post on the tribe itself, it will create a tweet with the link back to the post. So we can have more of the discussion on the site itself, but the post is going out on Twitter, easier to follow. You don't have to log into two sites. Little teaser, the two sites might be one soon. It's part of our planned expansion that's coming up. We don't have a roadmap or a timeline on all of these changes yet. I can tell you that a group of the changes will go live on December 8th. That is the one timeline we have right now. How much we get done in order to prepare for that change, I'm not sure yet. And these are the two subscription sites, truckingtribe.com and healthytribe.com. There will be new pricing packages. There's going to be a lot of new features. Really excited about this new rollout. So I don't want to get too deep into that. Calls are starting to come in. If you want to join us, 855-950-3835. I'm going to get the calls here in a second. I posted this morning on healthytribe.com some early results of the stress protocol that I've been working on and off for a couple of years now. Can't believe it's been that long. And more recently, the sleep protocol that I worked with Danielle to develop for me specifically. And now I need to go learn, and I've been digging into this. Danielle used adaptogens. Danielle is from Four Sigmatic, the company that makes our mushroom chocolate, our mushroom coffee, our elixirs. Awesome products. We only carry a couple of their products right now. We're going to be expanding that. Now that I'm starting to understand the adaptogens and how powerful they are, we'll be bringing more of their products in. We'll also be bringing... No, I don't think we will be bringing Danielle back. I think she has the new job. We may be bringing on the founder of Four Sigmatic. So that will be interesting. Danielle has a great book out on adaptogens, and I'm really starting to dig into that and study it now that I understand this a little better, so that I'll be able to develop specific protocols around adaptogens for other people. So I posted some results on sleep. Pretty amazing stuff. The biggest change, and all of the changes in sleep come from several different things I've been doing for quite a while now. The stress protocol itself kind of set my body up to be able to start working on the sleep better. If you are totally stressed all day and your body's not handling it well, sleep is just about impossible, and if you do sleep, it's not restorative at all. I'm working with the adaptogens and also the red light therapy, the infrared therapy, that little portable light that I found that I just absolutely love. When I get up now, I've talked about this many times. I like to get up between 4 and 4:30 in the morning. That's when I can do my best research, my best reading, my best writing. There's no distractions. Once I get off the air in the morning, it's getting close to 3 o'clock on the East Coast, and we have employees and partners there. So I have to take that first hour or two to schedule any meetings with people I have on the East Coast before they go home, or calls will come up or issues will come up. I have to deal with those right away because we only have an hour or two to interact with those people once I'm off the air. Then by the time I finish all that, I'm usually starting to get a little brain dead, mostly because I wasn't sleeping good. So I wasn't getting a lot of research and work done on projects. Things were moving very, very slowly, and I was the weak link in the chain. So I have managed to completely reset my sleep cycle. I was struggling to get up at 7 and barely really feeling like I was thinking well by 8 when I went on the air. I am right now back to 4 or 4:30, somewhere in between there, no alarm. And when I wake up, I want to get out of bed. I have energy and I'm ready to go. In fact, this morning I tried to, do a little light reading and lay in bed and think, well, maybe I could go back to sleep for another hour. But I was wide awake and felt like it was time to go. Last night I started getting really sleepy at 8 o'clock. That was part of my problem. I wasn't even getting sleepy till 11 or 11:30 at night. And then I had rough sleep, and now last night I was sleepy at about 8. I was in bed a little before 9, did a little bit of reading, and I was asleep before 9:30. So now when I wake up at 4 or 4:30 even, that's like 7 hours of sleep. And last night I got like 6 hours and 37 minutes of sleep. I got good deep sleep, not quite enough. I could work on the deep sleep still. I had some REM, not quite enough, so that's an area I can improve. But instead of being awake for 2.5 hours throughout the night, like what's been normal for me, 35 minutes awake total. That's a huge improvement for me. And I feel so much better. So the red light therapy, I posted about it. When I get up at 4, get ready for the day, sit down and start doing my research, I turn on the red light then. And what that's doing is simulating the sun and resetting my melatonin cortisol cycle. To my body then, the sun has come up, it's time to start the day. You do that in the winter time when it gets dark here at 4:30, I am really, really sleepy by 8 o'clock. So it's been a pretty dramatic change in a very short period of time, about a month. In a week of that, I traveled and didn't do any of the protocol the week I was gone. So I'm pretty excited about the results. Now, I know this is just me. Everybody's individual. But I think I now have all the pieces and parts to really be able to help people with sleep and stress. So I'm excited about that. Let's get to the calls. I'll come back to some of this other stuff if we run out of calls, but I hope we don't. Keep them coming. Let's get started in Georgia. Jerry, welcome to the program.
Hi, Kevin. I got 2 quick questions about, one drug and one supplement. Now, hear the whole story before you tell me to go to hell here. Prednisone.
Okay.
It's a steroid. Now, here's the backstory on it. It's questions for my 87-year-old mother. Some time ago, she had some type of a congestive deal of some sort, and part of the therapy protocol was a prednisone. During the time she was on that, her arthritis pain almost disappeared. And now it's back, of course, and my daughter's an RN, and she asked me if I would consider allowing her to be on prednisone, a small dose of it, for the pain relief. What's your opinion of that? And I mean, whatever the long-term effects are, so what? She's 87 years old,
Well, and that's going to be part of my question to you. And I know this can be kind of a sensitive question, but we got to ask this kind of stuff. Honestly, if you had to guess, how much longer do you think she's going to be around?
Oh, if I had to, God, Lord, if I had to guess, I'd hope. Guess and hope is 2 different things. I'm saying maybe 5 years, maybe.
Then I would not do prednisone. That's too long. That's way too long. It's not just long-term effects of killing us. It will deteriorate our health more rapidly. All drugs are toxic. We just have to remember that. And prednisone is one of the few pharmaceuticals I have taken myself in the last decade. I am off almost all over-the-counter pharmaceuticals. I take nothing. No aspirin, no Tylenol, nothing. Occasionally, I'll use some cannabis for things like that. I think that's an awesome option. I have experimented with. I'm thinking of kava right now because I'm doing some tests with kava, but that's not the one I'm trying to think of.
Kratom.
Kratom. I've experimented with kratom. Honestly, cannabis is very, very few side effects. Unless you're, the downside to cannabis, if you're really trying to be a high performer, either physically or mentally, there is a downside to cannabis. It will detract from that. And obviously, if you're, somebody who's waking and baking and smoking all day long, there's huge downsides to that. But using a little bit of cannabis the way we might use an over-the-counter pain reliever or even a more powerful pain reliever, I think is really one of the good options. Kratom is probably the next level up. Kratom acts a lot like an opioid. A little bit of kratom tends to give you some energy and mental clarity. More tends to be very pain relieving and sedating. Kratom can be addictive, so you've got to be careful with that. So prednisone I used very short term. I had really severe shoulder pain that I was trying to figure out what the problem was, and it turned out to be several things: poor fat digestion, oxalate overload, and it was severe to the point that it was affecting my ability to sleep and work, and I already had sleep issues. So I had to kind of bite the bullet and say, well, the lesser of two evils here is to use prednisone short term. It's a fantastic pain reliever. When you have that kind of pain, it goes away completely, and you don't have any of the negative effects of like an opioid, making you really tired and loopy, and there's no real risk of addiction with prednisone. But I'm not a fan of somebody saying, well, I'm pretty sure I'm going to live another 5 years and I want to. Then no, prednisone is not the answer. If she has,
So what would the side effects be?
they're toxic. I mean, I could spend all day going through the problems. It can whack out hormones. It's toxic to all of our cells, so it will shorten our life. I mean, that's just the best way to say it. I don't want to go through everything, every impact it's going to have on our body,
Right.
but
No,
it will shorten our life. It's toxic. All right, it will start to kill our cells. And that's the big picture. We could get down to some side effects that could become uncomfortable over time. But the idea here is I never want to tell somebody you should be on a toxic drug long term.
Okay. Well, I just told her I'd do a little research, and you're my research, so.
Yeah. Short term, if she has a real flare up and she's in pain, very uncomfortable, and then I don't know how they administered it. I actually prefer injections to pills.
Oh, I don't know. Pills, I think, but I'm not sure on that. I'm pretty sure it was a pill, but she's got some kind of a goofy cream they rub on her knee. And if they remember to do it for her, she goes to bed.
Now,
well, then maybe it'll help, and I don't know what it is.
Here's another possible option, and I'm actually working on this myself. So, my cannabis crop this year was insane, and so I grew 5 plants. That's the legal limit here. I doubt that anybody would care if I grew 10, but every once in a while I actually follow the rules. So I grew 5, and I grew them 5 different ways. That's how I test everything. One of the ways, it wasn't a plant, it was a tree. I will probably get over a pound of cannabis from that one plant alone, and probably another pound from the other 4 combined. Had I grown them all that way, I'd probably looking at 5 pounds of cannabis, which I wouldn't use in the rest of my lifetime. I mean, that is a lot. I use very small amounts.
About a month's supply.
That's a lifetime supply for me. I use really small amounts, and even when I was leaning on it heavily just to use it as a crutch for my sleep, I still didn't use that much. So one of the things I'm going to be doing now is turning, because I have all this cannabis. What am I going to do with it? If I could sell it, it would clearly be my biggest cash crop. I have thousands of dollars worth, but selling it is illegal, even though it's legal to have here in the state. So I'm going to turn a lot of it into oils and tinctures. And then from the oils, you could make food and edibles. You can make gummies and, all kinds of things like that. You can also make lotions and salves and suppositories. You can make all of these things at home. I have all the recipes. And here's the thing. If you use those for pain, it is impossible to get high. It's impossible to fail a drug test.
Huh.
The THC cannot make it to your bloodstream. Now, you will find all kinds of people on the internet that swear, oh, no, I do that and I get high. Yeah, that's the placebo effect. Look at the science. They've tested this over and over and over. You can rub these creams and lotions, high-potency THC, all over your body, then they'll do a drug test, a blood test, no trace of THC whatsoever, even with a suppository. So those can be pretty powerful for local pain relief without any worry of the effects of THC.
Do you know how big an asshole you really are, though? Because now I've got a picture in my mind of DOT on the side of the road checking for THC suppository.
Don't they do that already?
Probably.
Wait, yeah, I've been through a couple roadside I've been through a couple roadside inspections. It felt like that's what they were doing.
Oh, Lordy. Anyway, well, I'll pass that on to her. That pretty well answered the question. But let's move on to my supplement real quick. Years ago, I was on PPIs for like 100 years. And it took me almost 3 of your PPI kits to finally feel comfortable without it. That's probably been 3 or 4 years.
Okay.
The last couple of months, I've been getting some real bad flare-ups again. Isn't there some kind of one of your supplements in there that kind of just take as a kickstart for your stomach acid without going through the whole entire PPI kit?
No, there really isn't. You may be thinking of our SIBO product, Atrantil.
No, it was some sort of an acid, like a little, like battery acid tablets or some thing.
Okay. I totally went in the wrong direction. I thought you wanted something that would actually neutralize the acid, which is what we never recommend doing. Yeah. Absolutely. We have
pump it up.
We have 3 or 4 supplements in the store that are based around hydrochloric acid, different levels of hydrochloric acid, and then other digestive enzymes. So some are a low dose of hydrochloric acid with some digestive enzymes, and then we do have a pretty high dose of hydrochloric acid straight.
So what's the name of it?
I'm going to actually have to go look because there's 3 or 4 of them, and I don't want to give you... I used to know this stuff right off the top of my head, but with Lauren doing all of our one-on-ones and discoveries, I'm not quite as up on all of this stuff as I should be. Let me go look real quick. All right. These are all of our products for this are all biotics. So, Hydrozyme is one of, pretty sure Hydrozyme is one that I used to use quite a bit when I was working with people. I believe this is a lower dose of betaine. So if we look at, we have HCl plus, and Hydrozyme. Those are 2 of them. HCl plus is 115 milligrams of betaine, which isn't really high. That one has some glutamic acid, some ammonium chloride, some pepsin, and some vitamin B. That's actually I might start there. If you think you needed a little bit more of a bump, that was the HCl plus. The Hydrozyme is vitamin B, 150 milligrams of betaine, the same amount of glutamic acid and pepsin, but they also put in some pancreatine, which helps your pancreas. Yeah, I know. They're all, that's what I mean. And those are just two of the products we have with betaine in them. Let me see if we can do a search on our site for just betaine alone and if that brings anything up. Okay, it does. We have Betaine Plus. I should have remembered that one. I believe that's our highest.
Betaine.
Betaine. Betaine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
Let me check the levels on that one. I think, if I remember right, that's our highest dose of betaine. That is 700 milligrams of betaine, 4 or 5 times more than the other two, and a little bit of pepsin. Pepsin's another stomach.
Okay.
I think it's an enzyme. Pepsin's another one of those chemicals that actually our stomach produces and it works in our stomach. Like pancreatine and the other digestive enzymes work after the stomach in the next section of digestion, but both betaine and pepsin are going to work right in the stomach.
Okay. Well, I'll look at something anyway. It just seemed like I need a little kickstart.
Another thing that I just do every day now, one, because I really like it. Are you using Cardio Miracle?
I am. Yes.
Here's the way I like to do my Cardio Miracle. Lisa absolutely loves this too. I put a good size shot of raw apple cider vinegar in my betaine in my Cardio Miracle every day. I love the taste of it. It kind of cuts that sweetness. It just is a little too sweet for me. It cuts that sweetness, gives it a nice kind of clean bite to it, that little bit of vinegar bite, and that's really good for your stomach and your digestion.
Okay. Well, I take my Cardio Miracle in water. Well, it's a long story. I've got like eight in my truck, and I'll keep water in them in the refrigerator and rotate them and try to get at least 1 or maybe 2 glasses of the Cardio Miracle a day, so it wouldn't be hard to just put a little dollop of the apple cider vinegar in with the water.
Yep, I have a just a big Yeti cold tumbler, and I put the Cardio Miracle in the bottom. Put a little bit of hot water in there because it dissolves the Cardio Miracle really well. Then a splash of apple cider vinegar, ice, and water, and that'll last me half a day, and then I'll usually do another one later on in the evening.
All right. Well, that gave me some things to head toward anyway. That's what I needed. So thanks so much, Kevin. Appreciate all you do.
You're welcome. Talk to you again soon. Phone lines are open. Got a couple calls, but you can certainly jump in now. If not, I'll go back to my odds and ends and my roundup for today. Let's head off to 855-950-3835 is the number. Let's go to Florida this time. Kevin, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin, it's that nurse that you've taught more medicine to than I learned in nursing school. And once again, with the steroids, oh my God, they never tell you enough about those.
You know, it's one of those drugs that, if you're in pain, a shot of prednisone or even the pills doesn't take long to kick in, and it really does a number on the pain, and you don't have any of the side effects of opioids. So I understand why people like them. I understand why doctors like them. But I think they get abused horribly.
Absolutely. And the long-term effects, especially with the orthopods shooting into the joints, is just the long-term effects are not talked about.
Yeah, you could probably go on and on. You kind of asked about, well, what are the effects? And and you could probably keep us, get us informed for about the next 30 minutes on those kinds of specifics.
Yes, sir.
For me, it's like big picture. The stuff's toxic. It's going to start killing our cells. We could get down to specifics, but that's enough for me to know.
Absolutely. I was really calling about I have a farm and I don't get to listen if I'm out in the field. How was the train?
Oh, so yeah, I've started to tell the story a little bit. I was going to do a blow by blow one day, and there just stuff keeps coming up. So now wouldn't be a bad time. So the train ride itself, I've done that trip from Portland to Chicago several times over the last decade or so. And I've talked about the fact that I love the ride, I love the scenery. The trains usually suck. The food's usually not very good at all. This time I was pleasantly surprised. There's nothing different about the Amtrak cars. They're all virtually identical, but this one looked pretty darn new. I mean, the room was in really nice shape, and I don't know what they did with their food, but the food was really good. There's another strange thing that happened
Biden
on.
is president now.
Yeah, that's it. If I can give him credit for something, I guess I'll give him credit for that then. He somehow managed to improve Amtrak from his basement, which is fine. I don't care where he does it from. It did get better, and I love that. So, but there was another weird thing on the trip. I don't think I've talked about this much. Hey, is there anything you can do with your volume on your end? I've got this line cranked up as high as I can get it, and people are having a hard time hearing you.
Yes, sir. Hang on.
I think it's going to be better already. Now I probably have to turn you down.
Is that any better, sir?
Oh, much better. Thank you.
Okay, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, so here's the weird thing that really happened. For the last 8 years, when I changed my diet to paleo first, it really happened a lot when I went keto. Now I'm kind of carnivore, keto-ish. I've talked about it. I eat one meal a day, one big meal a day, and then I might have something that looks kind of like a small meal, or I might have a couple things that look more like snacks. You know, a beef stick here and there, a nut butter packet, something like that. That's been so consistent for 8 years. And I try to tell people, I don't do that because I'm trying to lose weight. I do it because I listen to my body, and the same thing I tell everybody else is the way I live. If you're hungry, eat. If you're not, don't. And when I eat like that, I tend to get really hungry one time a day and eat a big meal as much as I want. I don't think about calories or serving size. I just eat as much as I want till I'm satisfied. And that's usually it for a meal for me for the day. It's been very consistent. For whatever reason, I think I have a theory. When I got on the train, you get on the train here in Portland at like 4:30 in the afternoon, and it's almost exactly 48 hours. If I leave on Friday afternoon, I'm going to pull into Chicago. And that's the other thing I will say about Amtrak. They were spot on time. We were actually running early, and they were able to kind of make up for it, and we pulled in right on time. So I do have far more compliments for Amtrak from this trip than I ever have before. But I got on the train at 4.
Station in Chicago.
It was fantastic inside. I wasn't about to wander outside in the dark. I saw several flashing lights go by, heard lots of sirens. I wouldn't have been surprised if I would have heard gunshots, but I didn't. So I had about 4-hour layover there in the station. So found a barbecue joint, got some decent barbecue, nothing to brag about, but it was all right. So when I got on the train that leaves Portland is only a couple of cars, and there's no dining car. So the first night, they give you a box lunch, and it was a box lunch. But I was really hungry. It was some kind of chicken thing with pesto on a croissant. So I took all the meat off, and I ate all that. I had beef sticks and my usual snacks, so I was eating those, and I'm like, I really want a meal. So there wasn't anything. So I went to bed. When you get to, Spokane, we meet up with the train from Seattle, and they connect the two, and Seattle has the dining car. So then the next morning, you have breakfast. And when you have a sleeper car, you get all of your meals in the dining car and they're included. If you have a coach seat, there's a little snack bar kind of thing you can go and get food. So I normally don't eat breakfast ever. I usually get up and have my coffee. I took everything with me to do my NDK coffee. I made my coffee, started drinking it. They made the announcement about breakfast, and I thought, I'm hungry. And I tell people, if you're hungry, eat. So I went to the dining car, ordered the breakfast, and it was, eggs, bacon, some sausage, some potatoes. I ate the whole plate, sat there and thought, wonder if they'll bring me another one. I was starving. I'm like, this is odd. So I thought, no, I'm not going to eat 2 breakfasts. So I went back to my car, started working and writing, and I'm sitting there writing, and like 11:30, they come out and announce the dining car's open for lunch. And I'm like, I'm hungry. I went down there, ate a big lunch. I think it was some kind of burger, and then they had this really nice salad, like a goat cheese salad with walnuts. And I said, just take that burger with all the toppings, throw it on top of the salad. I ate it, and I swear I sat there and thought, I wonder if they'd bring me another one. And I thought, no.
Forgive me for thinking medicine, but what was your blood sugar? Was your blood sugar saying you should have been wanting all these calories?
My blood sugar, I was actually wearing my continuous glucose monitor at this time. My blood sugar was rock solid stable. I was staying right between about 80 and 110, even eating those amounts of food. Normally, just that much food will make your blood sugar go up a lot, even if it's low carb.
Right, you usually see a spike.
Yeah, so I sat there after eating the one big meal and thought, if I'm hungry, maybe I should just keep eating. And then the way they do dining, they seat you with people in the dining car. If there's 4 of you, you get a table your own. Yeah, I do too. I met some really interesting people. So I was talking to the guy that was there. So the next thing I knew, we got talking, and I thought, I'm not really hungry enough to eat another meal. I'll go back to my car and work. I'm not kidding. They make dinner. They do kind of a reservation thing. So when you finish lunch, they ask you, what time do you want to come back to dinner? And I almost said, I'm not going to do dinner. I've already eaten twice today. And I thought, no, I better just leave it open. So I picked a time. Sure enough, my time comes around, and I'm like, I'm going to go have dinner. I ate the whole meal and thought I might be able to eat another one. But I held off. 3 meals a day. I haven't done that in I don't know how long. I did it the entire week I was gone. I have the only thing I can...
Not correlated to anything else?
Here's what I think may have happened. When I am getting ready for an event like that, I had 2 speaking events. I knew I was going to be meeting a lot of new people in the industry. I really like to be at the top of my game. And I knew I hadn't been sleeping good. So to prepare for leaving, I went really heavy keto. Lots of fat, lots of brain octane and coconut oil. And that's kind of a crutch, but it works short term. I don't want to do it for too long. Mm-hmm. So then when I got on the train, I wasn't really making it keto. I was just hungry. I think what was happening is I think my brain was in overdrive from all the keto. My body had lots of energy from the keto, but I wasn't sleeping hardly at all. My sleep that week was atrocious. I was barely getting about 3 or 3.5 hours a night, and it was poor sleep. I think my body kind of knew that I needed to perform well, and I wasn't going to on that little bit of sleep. And I think it made up for it with just a boatload of calories. I think my body just kept saying, if you need energy, you better feed us. And I just kept eating. And a couple days after I got home, it was still there the first day I got back, not as much the second. By the 3rd and 4th day, I'm right back to my normal eating patterns.
Did you think it had anything to do with adrenaline? Do you get adrenaline from pre-speaking?
Yeah. Well, I was running on adrenaline and cortisol the whole week. So, yeah, I do think that was part of it.
Oh, that would do that, absolutely.
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, I barely gained about 3 pounds.
I was wondering that. I was wondering if it was okay to say, did you gain weight?
Yeah,
As a
absolutely.
medical person, it's my next thought. You must have gained weight
About
unless you were burning it somewhere.
I probably I could have quadrupled the number of calories I was taking in. I don't count calories. I don't think about calories, but in my mind, if I think back, I was at least triple the number of the normal calories I take in, and maybe some days even quadruple. There, when I was at the hotel, we had all kinds of events together. There were 5 speakers, and I had never met any of them before, so that was I had a blast with these guys. We traveled together, we ate together, we spoke together all week long. Once I was there, we started in Memphis for a couple events, then we went up to Nashville, and we would always say, all right, let's meet at 5:30 for dinner, and we'll head downtown, whatever. And it would be like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'd be thinking, I can't make it till 5:30. And the hotel we were in, both of Memphis and Nashville, there were really good restaurants right around there. Not so much Nashville, but Memphis, there were probably 10 really good restaurants that I could just walk to. I mean, they were hundreds of yards away, that close. At 3:30, I would go over and eat a
Excellent
full meal.
placement.
Yeah, I would go over at 3:30
Wow.
and eat a full meal and then go out to dinner with them at 5:30 and eat another one.
So you were burning it somewhere. That's what logic would state.
Yeah. Now, here's the interesting thing. A lot of people don't realize this. I'm sure you know this. You would think that I was very physically active during that time to burn off that many calories. Well,
No, you don't have to be.
yeah.
You don't
So,
have to be.
all right. So on the train, almost no physical activity for 3 days. When I was speaking and doing these events, I didn't have time to be physically active. I was sitting at tables and talking to people and going out to meals and standing on a stage speaking. Our brain is a huge energy hog. Our brain uses, for the size our brain is, it uses a huge amount of our energy. And I just think that
Absolutely.
with all that mental stimulation, well, I had worked a week on my presentation, probably 2, and then I was the last speaker of the day. So the first day, the other 4 speakers, I'm watching them and I'm like, oh man, I blew this. My topic is
You
so
have to
far off.
change it.
Yeah, it's just so far off base. I got to do something. So I was like thinking on the fly, and I redid my entire presentation in my mind before I got up on stage. So I just have a
I
feeling
used
that,
to speak all over the country, and I've done that where you
yeah,
listen to first speakers, and you're like, "Oh no,
yep,
I'm hitting on the wrong thing. I'm gonna have to change it."
that's
Or
exactly
they
what
cover
happened.
your stuff.
And every meeting we were in, or every dinner we went to, or every meal we went to, the 5 speakers sat at a table, so we were really interacting. And people who speak a lot talk a lot. I mean, that's our talent. You should be able to talk a lot. You get 5 people like that at a
Yeah.
table. Holy cow! We needed a traffic cop, to try to. So it was a whole week like that.
That's great. That's excellent learning opportunity on your part.
The
No,
the
not just
really
for the people you're speaking to.
the really interesting part for me was their topic and the topic of the whole week, the events. It's an area of the industry that I am almost clueless about. Nuclear verdicts, staged accidents, insurance, and just all kinds of stuff that sounds kind of boring, but it was really fascinating. And so I was really engaged.
I heard
And
you speak on. I
yeah,
heard you talk about that a little bit, and it's absolutely fascinating. I had no idea, even from the police side. I knew they staged accidents, but not to the extent that you're talking in cartel involvement.
yeah, cartels, organized crimes, people getting executed.
Unbelievable. Had no idea. I mean, we were learning about truck hijacking and how big that was, but now this is unbelievable.
Yeah, it was like sitting through or reading a good John Grisham novel.
Amazing.
So my theory is that my brain was just in overdrive the whole time, and that's where all the energy was going. And these
Makes
days
total sense.
I'm pretty lean these days. When I left, I was about 145, which is about the bottom for me. I don't carry much body fat at 145, so I don't have any reserves there. So I think I just had to keep eating.
Not that you'll get any other medical person currently to agree. I agree, though.
Yeah, I'm sure they would try to claim I had some sort of weird syndrome and needed 2 or 3 drugs to fix it.
Oh my! They would have stopped at I want to eat when I want to eat. They would have stopped there, and you haven't done 3 meals a day. The dietitians would have lost their minds.
Yeah. Yeah, and then I'm sure they'd freak out when I said for the last 8 years I tend to eat 1 meal a day, and on this trip I'm putting down 5 or 6 a day.
Oh my God! The nurses
Oh,
that taught me
the-
would be jumping down your throat.
The trip back. So I flew back, and the event ended really on Thursday. Most of the speakers left Thursday right as I was actually speaking. They all had flights. I had a meeting that I had scheduled Thursday evening, a dinner with somebody from the industry that I just was going to be in Nashville at the time. So I didn't book my flight till Friday morning. But since I'm done, I took the earliest flight I could get. It was like a 4:30 flight out of Nashville. I think I woke up at
Wow,
1 o'clock
early.
in the morning to get ready, which, did I get up at 1 in Nashville? No, maybe I got up at 3 in Nashville. It might have been like a 5 or 5:30. I had to get up at 3 in Nashville. But on West Coast time now, that's 1 in the morning. And I'm on my way to the West
Right.
Coast, so that's how I start thinking. It's 1 o'clock. This is going to be a long day. So I get to the airport.
Yeah, very long.
Get to the airport, grab like a sausage, egg, and cheese croissant sandwich, throw the croissant sandwich away, eat the meat and cheese. Started to walk away and thought, oh, that's not going to do it. I went back and got another one of those. Then my first leg took me to
Wow.
Denver. I get off the plane in Denver, and I'm walking by, and I see this restaurant, and I'm looking down at the food, and I'm like, that breakfast looks really good. So I sat down for breakfast in Denver and ate a 16-ounce ribeye, 2 eggs, and I started on a big pile of potatoes, and they just weren't that good. And I thought, I'm not wasting my carbs on
God.
lousy potatoes. So that was like, at least 2 breakfasts, almost 3. And when I finally got home to Portland, got home at about 11, Lisa had made a big lunch, like this amazing pork loin that she made, and I ate again. It was like, it's not even noon yet, and I've had
cardiologists listening or losing their mind.
yeah, it's not even noon yet, and I've had 3 big meals.
Yeah, it's crazy, but understandable if you look at it the way you look at it.
Yeah, my body needed it, and I live the way I
Exactly.
tell other people. If you're hungry, eat. There must be a reason.
Correct, but not modern medicine does not think that way.
No, whoever came up with the idea that we need to eat 3 meals a day, that's not a human thing.
I have no idea. I think back to nursing school and you talk about the food pyramid and all that and how ridiculous it was. We remember thinking then it's ridiculous, but who came up with this stuff?
And how many times have we heard this in our lifetime? Oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Why? Nobody
Oh my
ever
God,
told us
if you're in
why.
the
Where the hell did they come up with
hospital
that?
Especially in the 80s and 90s in the hospital, everybody had to eat the breakfast. You had to report on it. We had to report what you ate.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah.
unbelievable.
Part of nurses' notes, what the patient ate, how much, did they eat everything? Unbelievable. I don't know if they do that now, but it's certainly something we did,
Yeah.
especially trauma patients.
Oh, I'll bet. Yeah. And where was the science? Nobody ever talked about that. Why are we doing this?
I
What?
never talked about the science.
Right. Which
In nursing
now,
school, it wasn't about the science.
now I
The,
actually hate that
the
statement.
yes,
That
yeah, I agree with you.
during COVID, that statement became so bastardized that it is completely meaningless now.
Well, I would say to people wearing masks outside, surgical masks, I'd look at them and say, I was an ER nurse for 30 years. Why didn't I wear a mask all the time in the ER? And they'd look at me and they'd go, why not? And I'd say, because it doesn't work in the way you're thinking it works.
And it's bad for you.
Correct.
Yeah.
The negative air spaces that we talk about, it just creates more negative airspace. Your trachea, you have that negative airspace when you're not inhaling or exhaling. That mask only creates more negative airspace, and gas masks, N95s. They tell people in the ER we had our own N95s assigned to us that were fit tested.
Yeah. So few upsides unless you know how to use it and you're using it for a very specific reason, like you said, and way too many downsides. I saw something yesterday. I'm sure it's happening all over the place, but it still just shocked me. I saw a person driving in their car alone and they had a mask on. I thought people have just
All the
lost their
time,
mind.
and that's so dangerous.
I know. People have just lost their mind.
So dangerous. And then if you have COPD, I mean, people that do have undiagnosed, especially respiratory issues, it's not helping them.
No, it's horrible. We're now learning over the last couple of years how important correct breathing is. Yesterday we were talking about mouth taping and all kinds of things to teach people how to breathe properly again.
Interesting. And I also have to thank you for your study on sleeping. I taught 911 centers for 20 plus years. Nobody teaches new emergency services workers how to sleep on a 24-hour schedule.
The what I'm finding is, I'm never going to say that, I've learned everything there is to know. But I have done so much reading and research on sleep and testing myself that there's not much anymore that is going to surprise me or sound like something new, unless somebody comes up.
The data gets very redundant.
Yeah.
Incredibly redundant.
So unless somebody comes up with something new, there's not much farther I can take just the raw research. So here's the other thing I've discovered, and I wish this wasn't true. I have tested probably every sleep device on the market. At a certain point, I stopped. I could open a wearable store with all the wearables I have that I've tested and threw in a box and, collected enough data. Here's the thing. The sleep scores that you get from these things are helpful, that they might give you some clues on what, really interferes with your sleep and what doesn't. Other than that, they're not very accurate. That we don't understand sleep yet. We're measure. I know we can measure REM and we can measure deep sleep, and I get all that, but it's not correlating to the things we think it should. There are times where I have people get crazy high sleep scores, 3 hours of deep sleep, 2.5 hours of REM. They hardly woke up at all, and they feel like hell the next day. And then there are days where I can get 3.5 hours of horrible sleep, and I can function all week at a very high level. Now, I know that can't be healthy, but we're missing something big on sleep, and I don't know what it is yet. So, and here's the other thing. Of all the devices I did test for sleep, and then I found a study where somebody else had taken a lot of these devices and matched them against the equipment they have in sleep labs, where you're totally wired up. The best device is not a wearable. It's actually a device that sits on the side of, like on your nightstand, and is pointed at you. Seems crazy to me that
What's it measure?
They claim it's actually measuring like breathing rate. It can actually see you breathing even if you roll over the other way. It's measuring movement. REM sleep should actually be the easiest thing to test. In REM sleep, we are completely paralyzed. We don't move at all. So you would think
Correct.
REM would be
They sure
really easy, but I'm not even sure most of our devices are measuring REM very accurately.
That's way beyond my knowledge base.
Yeah, so like I said, they're useful to try to improve your own sleep. If you do some things and your deep sleep almost goes away, well then stop doing those things. If you try a supplement and you feel like you slept better, but you're really not getting any REM sleep, then that's not a good thing. So they're just accurate enough that as a comparative tool we can learn something. But I'm not putting any faith in them anymore that they're truly measuring what's important.
Well, unfortunately, the medical world, aviation world, as a flight medic, they lived on the pilot's Ambien, and used to be Ambien. Now I think they're using other stuff, but they lived on that, especially with time zone changes.
That's awful. That is horrible.
It's horrible.
Yeah.
Absolutely horrible.
I can't believe that was happening.
It's a thing.
Oh,
absolutely.
That's all. Yeah, that is.
When you work that 24-hour schedule and you're having to rotate around, sometimes they end up relying on that.
You know what their justification would be if you even challenged them on this? Look at our safety record.
Oh, they say I'm not awake enough for the next flight, the next
but
emergency, whatever it may be. That would be the answer.
Yeah, and if we tried to say, well, that's a really bad way of doing this, their answer would be, well, look at the results. Look at our safety record. We're the safest mode of travel in the world,
Correct.
And they are. But so fine,
exactly.
The Ambien isn't making anybody unsafe, or even if it is, we have so many redundant backup systems to keep everybody safe. That's what's working. The shame here is that you're poisoning your pilots.
Correct.
So whether it's safe or not, you're poisoning human beings. We should stop doing that.
There we go again, against the medical community that's so entrenched.
Yeah. Did you catch much of Dr. Wolfson yesterday?
No, sir. When I'm out in the fields, I can't catch the show because I'm out of Wi-Fi range. I don't have cell coverage on the farm.
Got it. So if you've got the app, go back and listen to yesterday. Dr. Wolfson was just brilliant, I think.
I will do that. Yeah, you've had some wonderful nurse practitioners and you've had amazing people health-wise. And I tell my wife all the time, I learned from a trucking guy, but she doesn't get it.
Nobody does. When we have people all over the place that, have lost 150 pounds and they look like a new human being, and they see somebody they haven't seen in a long time. And the first question is, oh my God, what did you do? And if they start saying, well, I listened to this ex-truck driver on the radio, people look at them like they have three heads.
Yes, the looks I get with the education and background I have, and I say I'm learning more from a truck driver about health than I did in my medicine career, they look at me like I'm crazy.
And here's the thing. I am nowhere near the only person doing this that has no medical background. There are so many good practitioners out there now that focus solely on nutrition and lifestyle, have no medical background whatsoever, and they are all doing amazing things. Now, when we get the doctors and the nurses and the nurse practitioners and chiropractors, when they get on board with this, that's the answer. I can have a big impact on people, but somebody like Dr. Wolfson or the nurse practitioners or the nurses we've had on that have also done this kind of research, that to me is the ultimate answer to make people healthy. They understand all the
Absolutely.
biology and the physiology, and they understand the drug interactions, and they can do all the deep dive into blood work. And that to me is what we need more of. I mean, certainly, people that just want to help people with how they eat and lifestyle. Perfect. Great. Health coaches, whatever we want to call them. That's fine. But the real answer here is if we can get enough true medical practitioners on board, that's when we might start to make a dent.
Well, you won me over, but my career's on a downslide.
Well, pass it along.
I do that.
Good.
I do, but I get
Good.
this weird look when I say I learned it from a trucker.
I know. Nobody's ever going to get over that one.
So I
So
will not take your time up. I let other callers get in. Thank you so much, Kevin. I appreciate it.
great talking to you. Call again soon. Let's go to, we've got phone lines open. 855-950-3835. At this point, I will let you know. I said before, if we ran out of calls, I would go back to my odds and ends and a couple topics I have here. But I have got a lot going on these days, and I'm loving it. And I've got the energy to do it. So if I run out of calls at this point, we'll end the show. So it's up to you. You want to hear more? Call in. If not, we'll wrap up when we run out of calls this time. We're going to go to Iowa. Brandy, welcome to the program.
Wow, that was quick.
You know,
I
Brandy,
thought your,
I was fighting with volume on the last caller, and I am just out of headroom on my board. Is there anything you can do to pick up your volume?
other than stick the microphone in my mouth. Other than that,
No, that's actually muffling it
no.
and making it worse. So nothing has changed on my board that I'm aware of. Oh, no, hold on. I know exactly what did it. Aaron, if you're listening, you know what did this too. I did change something today about the way we're handling the caller audio. So it is my fault. We'll just do the best we can. Try to speak up and project.
Okay, sure. So I bought your walnut butter sampler,
Oh, yeah.
and this will help you with your store too. I kind of thought, well, this will benefit you too, to basically advertise it. But so I bought it because I wanted a snack while I drove. There is another brand that you can find in health stores that I have tried, but I wanted to, and try what you had. And my idea was to put a spoon in it and just eat it as I drove. And this comes from with the pouches that when you open them, you're supposed to knead them, but sometimes that's really hard to knead them. And then you get squirted with the oil, and it gets all over your shirt and everything else. So I wanted to see if this was a better way of using a spoon in a smaller jar, so I don't have this great big jar. I'm still trying to get it, finish it.
Okay.
And so I was really interested in that. So the thing is, so if we don't use the bread, if you don't put it on bread, and I don't like celery and I don't do carrots, it's like, what can you use this butter for other than a spoon while you drive?
Okay. Oh, you're asking me?
Yes, a recipe or an idea of basically, because
So,
the idea with the pouches, it can be messy.
yeah, no,
It slices your lips.
no, not now. I understand what you're asking, and I agree with all those things. I've experienced all of those. Here's the first thing I'm going to start off with.
Yeah.
Even though we sell this stuff in our store, we carry pouches, we carry jars, we carry 15 different flavors. I want people to kind of maybe moderate their intake some. So nut butters, certainly they've got good fats in there that are good for us. But we're now looking harder at the downsides to plant foods, the lectins, the anti-nutrients, the oxalates.
With
Yeah.
the almonds and stuff. Yeah, exactly.
And
I
I'll
understood
tell
that.
you, one of my favorite ways to eat those nut butters is another almond flour based product. It's almond flour crackers. So I just want to tell people, if I give you a whole bunch of ways to eat this, don't overdo this. We're going to start helping people understand their total oxalate load. When we talk to Sally, the interesting thing about oxalates is we don't want to cut them out of our diet completely. We could cause more problems than anything. We do want some oxalates in our diet, especially if we've been overloaded with them. They're in our tissues, they're in our joints, we don't want to go cold turkey. The results are not pretty. So, but we want to help people start to measure their total oxalate load and then pick and choose the foods you really enjoy that have oxalates. For me, that's dark chocolate. I love dark chocolate. It's one of my favorite things. I want to eat it every day, sometimes multiple times a day. I eat really high quality. I love the mushroom chocolate. Cacao is an adaptogen itself. And then when we add the mushrooms, the reishi and the chaga and the cordyceps and the lion's mane, we are now getting a nice dose of adaptogens, but I've got to balance out the oxalates that are in dark chocolate. So I will gladly give up some of those foods that I didn't realize were high in oxalates and I don't even really care about. They just became part of my diet. A lot of these almond flour products, I'm really going to cut way back on those. So it's not that we want to quit, but we do need to be aware of the total load, and oxalates are hiding in all kinds of plant foods that we never realized before. So you could look at things like there's some crackers. I'd have to go check this though too. I'm just going to say there's some crackers on the market that are mostly seed-based, but we have to look at the seeds and find out, are those high in oxalates or not?
Almond flour ones, as well as the sweet potato crackers there at Costco that I've
sweet potatoes are loaded with oxalates.
Okay. Yeah. I was listening to about the kiwi, and it's like fascinating. I like kiwi. Like,
I love kiwi.
Slicing me and dicing me up.
I love kiwi. It's one of my favorite fruits. I had no idea that it had that kind of oxalate load to it.
Yeah, exactly.
And here's the other thing.
The other thing
we're bringing Sally back, and we're doing a mini series on this topic. We're going to talk about all of the negative impacts from oxalates on our body. It's shocking, and I am a firm believer that all of this is correct. The science is there. This isn't some kind of, we think this might be going on. This is rock hard science. We know what's happening.
You had a doctor on a while ago, longer ago, where they, I think it was oxalates or the plant foods were basically slicing or cutting into the intestines, causing leaky gut syndrome.
That was Sally.
Like that. So I'm really, and just now I'm more aware of that than ever, and I'm trying to make sure I don't eat any of that stuff. But I don't.
Here's
those problems.
Here's an interesting takeaway from this. I've talked many, many times about my experience as a vegetarian. Almost 3 years, fairly strict, and then another year where I added seafood back in and then gave up on the whole thing. And this is such a common experience for people who do this. You're coming from the standard American diet, basically. I was. And you're going vegetarian, not vegan. I don't think I could have ever attempted vegan, but I managed to do vegetarian. So in the first 6 months, almost everything was an improvement. I felt better. I lost some weight. Digestion never really got any better, but things got better. And it felt like a really positive change. And some of it might be mental. We've been so brainwashed into, plants and salads and smoothies and all these things are so good for you. And if you want some meat, use this soy-based stuff. And it all sounded so good. We've heard it so many times. We've heard it our whole life. So some of it is probably a placebo effect. Some of it is the effect of we moved from such a horrible diet to usually a plant-based diet is going to be somewhat cleaner, although not today, because now we have all kinds of over-processed plant foods on the market. But almost everybody I've ever talked to that does this, at some point their health starts to deteriorate. And you never seem to blame it on the diet change because the first 6 months made you feel better. So I kept looking for every other reason. I'm just getting older. I'm too stressed. I'm around too many chemicals. Or coming up with everything as to why my health started to deteriorate. By the time I was into that third and fourth year, and was I 40 yet? I don't even know if I was 40. I think I did the vegetarian thing sometime during my 30s. I was deteriorating pretty bad. My RA, rheumatoid arthritis, was horrible then. I was almost thinking I may have to go on some sort of a drug. I was taking all kinds of over-the-counter stuff because of the pain. I couldn't use cannabis back then because I still had an active CDL and still drove occasionally. That wasn't even an option for me, and it was illegal everywhere. Not that that would have stopped me, but it would have made it more difficult. So there weren't many options for pain, and I was in pain almost all the time. My digestion was a mess. I was gaining all kinds of weight. I mean, I got up to close to 190. For me, that's obese. I never thought that, but that's a lot of weight on me. Now I understand that the longer you eat that way, the worse the oxalate load gets. It wasn't rheumatoid arthritis. Well, it was rheumatoid arthritis. I had those markers, but it was that on top of oxalate crystals settling in my joints like gout. And it was a lot of pain, and my health was deteriorating rapidly by that third year. And now I understand. And then every diet I tried after that, a moderation diet, what was Bill Phillips, I think was the guy's name. He had a diet that was really popular for a while, and it actually worked for a while. I just couldn't sustain it. I was hungry all the time. None of the diets were really working long-term at all. Some of them helped me lose weight. None of them cleared up any of my health issues, and now I understand why. Those oxalates hang around in your body a long, long time.
Yeah, I've had kidney stones and was a regular producer of them.
That's
I'll
oxalates.
never forget the pain.
That's oxalates.
So,
Yep.
what? Yeah, and it was poor eating, and that's what. Now listening to your show, and I'm very more aware of what I put in and what could potentially produce more. Kiwi. It's like, oh wow, I just bought some dried kiwi the other day. It's like, oh, I'm not going to be able to eat that.
Yeah. Hey, I just figured out how to fix the audio issue on the fly. So apologies to all the listeners that have to keep turning their volume up and down. I think I should have it fixed now, and it's a good thing because I have a bunch of callers on the line.
Okay. Can you post a picture of your I think it was Mylinga tree, so it can see? Because I'd like to try one at my house.
Moringa, and there's,
yeah, that one.
Yeah, I'll do that. Not much to see. The trunk of the tree. It's in a fairly small pot right now. The trunk of the tree is probably 5 or 6 feet tall. There might be 4 or 5 little tiny leaves on it. I mean, it looks worse than a Charlie Brown Christmas tree.
Well, I was thinking this is your before and this is your after, and this is the part where you start to eat from it, and it's like it would be helpful.
Yeah, I
need not a lot of information on that.
I left it outside so it would get as much sun and fresh air as possible, but it's fall, so nothing's really growing much, and now I actually need to bring it inside and put it under some lights and try to get it nice and healthy for the spring.
Yeah.
But I will.
I think that's about it that I can think of.
All right. Thanks for the call. Phone lines are pretty busy right now, so I better get to it. It's a good thing I fixed the audio issue. I managed to fix it on the fly. I realized what I did this morning that created it. I didn't think I was going to be able to fix it on the fly, but I did, so we should be good. Brian, welcome.
Hello, sir. Great to talk to you. Had a question in regards to investing my wife's IRA money. She switched employers, and we did a rollover, into a self-managed Vanguard account. And I know that you guys talked about this a few weeks back in regards to, an S&P 500 index fund, maybe a total stock market fund, and then you were kind of debating about maybe what the third or fourth should be, and just kind of wondering what you would suggest that we would do with this money.
So really good question. And the one thing I always want to clarify is investing, for a certain group of people. Let's say from the earliest you decide to invest, it'd be awesome if people started doing it in their teens. But whenever you start to invest, teens, 20s, 30s, 40s, whatever, for that group of people up into about the age of 50, I can give some pretty generic advice that would work really well for most people, would probably give 90% of those people better results than they would get if they worked intensively with an individual investment advisor. And that's not just me bragging, and this isn't my strategy. This has been around a long time. I learned it from other people. The numbers show us that this strategy over 90% of the time beats an individually managed fund, no matter how good your fund manager is. So it's just the numbers. But I always want to know at least a little bit, because there are people that shouldn't follow that advice. So two things. How old are you two?
48.
Yeah, you're right that you're getting close to the line. And the timing of it. If this were 2012 and you were 48, I'd have a very different answer than I'm going to have right now. It's just because of where we are in the market. When I used to do individual investing, I had a whole questionnaire and I do interviews with people. What would you say your risk tolerance is? Are you very risk averse? If you think that your portfolio dropped by 30% in 3 weeks, or would you be on the phone? If I were your investment advisor and you were paying me, and your portfolio was down 30% in, a quarter or 3 or 4 months, would you be on the phone with me in a panic, and would you be losing sleep over it?
Yeah, no, we basically just went through that, and I did not do either one of them.
Good. Okay.
We are in a very comfortable financial position. House is paid for, kids are grown and gone.
Congratulations.
Vehicles are paid for. We're both healthy, still working.
Congratulations.
So I think we can. Thank you. I think we can tolerate a little risk. Yep.
So, how much money are we talking about in this particular fund? Because I have a feeling you have money in several places, but in this particular fund, how much money are we talking about?
Around 90,000.
Okay. And is any of your other money? I know you have assets like the house, which has probably got a lot of value. Any other money you have, is it mostly in higher risk stuff, like still in mutual funds and stocks, or do you have other low risk stuff?
Its majority it is high risk mutual funds. I do have I think one large bond account that's around 100,000, but everything else is in active managed mutual funds. Okay.
So here's the approach I would take right now with your age, your financial status, which is excellent. Your age is you still have lots of time, but we don't want to get too crazy because the one thing I'm concerned about, I'm not so concerned about the downside that's coming. I actually like a downside. A down market just allows us to buy stocks on sale and mutual funds on sale. 2 or 3 years of a pullback, a real steep pullback in the market, I love those. Those are just buying opportunities. What I'm afraid of is our last economic recovery was our slowest ever. It took us a long time to come back from the 2008. We could get political and blame it on people. That's not the point. It can happen, and we have no idea what's going on in politics these days. I'm afraid that this next downturn could take us a decade to recover from. So you have to start thinking about that. You put money in now, we lose 30, 40, 50%. We'd want to put more in then. But what if that market doesn't come back for 10 years? If I buy at the bottom, not too, no harm, no foul. I lost some opportunity. But if I buy at the top or heading into the bottom and we have a 10-year, dry spell, you're up into your 60s now or darn close to it by the time all this shakes out.
Yeah,
And then-
keep in mind, I mean, we can't being an IRA. We can't even get our hands on it without paying the tax burdens until we're 59 and a half anyway. So, I mean, I'm looking like we got 12 years
Yeah, okay.
before we'd even
Got it. So
want to touch it.
here's what I would do. I would take that 90,000. Let me see, how long do we want to take on this? I would take that 90,000 and I would divide it into chunks of $5,000 and I would put $5,000 a month into the S&P.
Okay.
So the way you do that on a transfer, you probably already know this. You're going to transfer it into the new IRA. It sounds like you've already done that. Most of the money you just want to sit in a money market fund. It's not invested into stocks. You get but maybe 2% now, maybe 3%. So you park it there, and $5,000 each month you transfer into the S&P 500. That will really smooth out all of these bumps and ups and downs. And I still think there's 30 or 40% still left to lose in this market, and possibly 50. And so if we smooth it out, and you're smart enough to also kind of look at things, if you decide and go, you know what, maybe I'll just skip this month. Maybe we'll see if we start one of those nosedives. Maybe you say, and I'm not market timing here because I'm not a fan of market timing, but we have a chunk of money and we need to do something with it. So you do want to be careful with a big chunk. If I'm talking to a 30-year-old and they've been putting $500 a month into the S&P 500 and we know the market's going down next month, I'm just going to tell them, keep putting it in. Don't panic. Don't take anything out. Keep up with your schedule. When somebody comes to me with a big chunk and we're later in life, we use different strategies. And to kind of take away a lot of the risk, we can just slowly start to move that money into the market. And I wouldn't do anything other than an S&P. Yep. You've already got other investments. You've got bonds. You've got real estate. You're already plenty diversified. The S&P 500 is easy, and almost nothing outperforms it.
Yeah, we started, so I'm basically on the right track. Then last week, that's exactly what we did. Is we put 5,000 in the VOO,
awesome.
And I just didn't know if we should be doing other things.
No. I think you're diversified
my plan
enough.
Was to just keep. Okay. Yeah, and I'm exactly doing exactly what you say. I've been kind of actively doing that with another private account with some extra funds over the last 18 months or so, and it got so high there that it was almost getting frustrating putting it in because I'm like, this can't continue,
right?
And I just like, but
so
but like you said, you want to do something with it.
Well, I think I know you are doing better with your own money than anybody else you could hire. You've got this. You get the nuances of this. The idea that we're not market timing. We're not taking everything out of the market and then trying to get everything back in. But you looked at it and said, wait a minute, every month when I buy these, they're getting more expensive. And this has been going on for a long time. There can't be much upside left, and there's way too much downside. So slowing down and saying, you know what, I'm going to skip a month or two. I'm not taking any money out, but I'm also not going to put any in for a while. Keep an eye on things. So like I say, you've got this.
Okay. Well, I got this because of you.
Well, good.
I listen to your show regularly, and I'm a big fan. So
well, thank you.
Thank you for all you do.
You learned well. Don't let anybody else manage your money. Really.
Okay. I honestly have some other some accounts with an advisor that I'm in the process of pulling it away
Good.
because I just can't justify the fees and
you-
what I'm doing. When, like you said, this isn't brain surgery. It's fairly simple.
You are absolutely correct. That guy is not earning his money. And he's not going to.
Okay, sir.
It's not like, well, we just need to talk to him and get him more active. That's not going to work. It's not that you should go find it. There isn't anybody out there that's worth the money they're going to charge you when you're this good at this.
And it is so deceiving when you sit there and you look at a statement or you walk into their office and you want to give them $5,000 and then you're just constantly like, well, what was their fees on that? You never see any of that.
Now,
but he collects his fee for the whole time you have it, and you never see it.
You just made a statement a little while ago that I absolutely agree with. This isn't rocket science. You do need to do some reading. You do need to have some understanding of how financial markets work and what index funds are. So it's not that we can just throw darts at a board, or we can just think that, we listen to Kramer on Mad Money and now we're an investment advisor. It's fairly simple once you have that knowledge that you need. And it's not really specialized knowledge. But I will tell you what is rocket science or brain surgery, trying to figure out what fees they're charging you. That's the hard part.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're absolutely right.
They are very good at hiding them.
Yep.
I was a certified financial planner, the highest designation for individual financial planners there is. And I didn't understand all of those fee structures until I read Anthony Robbins' book.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've listened to his book, as well.
Yeah, I didn't learn
really
any of that stuff.
Eye-opener.
3 years in school, not full-time, obviously, but 3 years to get through the CFP program, a test that takes 15 hours, and 40%, 60% of the people that take it every year fail it. That's what it took to become a CFP, and yet I couldn't explain the fee structures to anybody. That's just wrong.
No, yeah.
It's no different than we had.
I'm almost embarrassed to say that I've been with a guy for like 20 years.
I know,
and I'm sitting here thinking like, I wish I would have found out the Vanguard system or the system.
I know. Yep.
Years ago.
Well, it's no different than we had.
All I can do is try to teach my children
exactly
how to do it differently.
Exactly. Just like we had Dr. Wolfson on yesterday, he made what might seem to a lot of people to be an outrageous statement. He said if he had somebody that was sick and unhealthy, he would send them to me before he would send them to any traditional doctor. That's just wrong.
Yep.
That is so sad. It's why I have focused most of my life on these two industries, because I think it is probably the two worst industries that we depend on heavily, and they have been screwing us for years and killing us. They've been stealing our money and killing us for years.
Yeah. Yep. Well, you're absolutely right. I agree with it, and I want to thank you for doing all your extra hard work and reading and research on it. I just sit back and listen.
I've just been reflecting on this a lot. I just posted a big piece on gratitude, and I just have to say that when people call me and thank me, and I understand and I appreciate it, I wish that everybody listening understood how grateful I am for them. Because what I do wouldn't matter nearly as much if I was only doing it for myself. The fact that I get to wake up and do this all day long, I'm like, how did I get so lucky? It's just, hopefully we can start to make a dent in the general population with these two topics. Because if we could, our country and our world would improve tremendously. Forget the damn politicians. They're a lost cause. We just need to start helping individuals. If we become better people, our country will become better.
I agree. Yep. take care of ourselves and our family at first. And
There
then
you go. And then
The,
and
you
attempt.
know, the government and the country will hopefully slowly change.
Yeah, and then attempt to influence people around you if you can. That's the most difficult part of this whole thing. All right, Brian, thanks so much for the call.
I
You've got
appreciate
this.
your insight.
Yep, you've got this. Thanks for the call. Love getting calls like that. Let's go to New Hampshire. Jim, welcome to the program.
Hey, Kevin. First of all, I'd just like to say I love everything about the new platform. And,
Me too.
The websites and all of that. I mean, the show is awesome.
Wait till you see where we're going.
So,
I
oh yeah, I can't wait.
I have this vision that we've all started on, and you know, I love our team. We have just an amazing team here. It has come together so well over the last couple of years, and we have people who are just so good at their individual piece of this. Right now, I have to be very, very careful that I don't overwhelm them. All this new energy and
Right.
the clarity I have in my thinking and my creativity's gone through the roof, and I have got to stop myself multiple times a day and say, slow down, you are going to overwhelm everybody. That's not a bad problem to
Right,
have.
yeah.
I just have to make sure I manage it.
Yeah, it's awesome, and I look forward to what's coming in the future. So before I get to my question, I know what your first question is going to be. So I'm 52 years old. For the last 5 years, thanks to you, I've been probably about 90% carnivore. I'll have
Excellent.
some vegetables once or twice a week, and that's about it. And I feel amazing. I've lost a lot of weight. I'm no longer on any medications.
Awesome.
All of my numbers, like when I have lab work done and stuff, they've all like completely normalized. My blood pressure's gone down. All of that. The one number I seem to be having problems with, and it's probably the last one I thought I ever would, is my B12. I seem to be coming up deficient all the time. And when I supplement, when I first had it tested a couple of years ago, I was below 200, which is way down at the bottom. And I started supplementing, and I got tested like 6 months later. I was at 2,200. So the supplementing works, but then I stopped again because they said, I was way above the top. And I had it tested after a year of not doing it again. I just had it tested the other day, and I'm back down to 200. And,
Okay.
it's
So
all of that, your B12 comes from animal products, and that's basically all I eat. So,
yeah, so B vitamins are tricky. B12 is really tricky. It's very easy and cheap to supplement in crazy high doses. In fact, many supplements have just gobs of B12 in them because it is inexpensive. The numbers can be all over the board like this. It would seem like if we ate animal foods, we would get enough. There's some other cofactor out there that I haven't done enough work on to understand, but I have another question for you. If you think back to when you were at your highest levels, when you're supplementing heavy, you're at your highest levels, and then think back to when you're at your lowest levels. Are there any noticeable health differences?
I think so and then the reason why I started testing it, the doctor suggested it because I've had back problems and I've had 3 back surgeries, and I have all these nerve symptoms that go down the back of my legs and into my feet and stuff. And that's one of the symptoms. And, you can get a lot of neurological symptoms from
Right.
low B12.
Right.
So I think they do get worse. And I know I'm not going to get rid of all of them just because I have permanent nerve damage, but I think they do get worse when it seems like my levels are low.
Okay, so that to me is more important than a blood test of B12. Some things we can test and we want to test because there aren't obvious symptoms. Usually, if somebody is deficient in B12, there's going to be symptoms. It might just be an energy thing. You feel sluggish no matter how much sleep you get. You just don't have enough energy. So
Right.
but So those we would want to test. B12, a lot of times, I'll just go by symptoms. I mean, if you were really high and really low and you didn't notice any difference, I'd say, well, then, maybe you take a product like Cardio Miracle that has some in there so that you're getting it, but I wouldn't try to overload on it or worry too much about it. But if you've got symptoms, we do want to kind of find the sweet spot here for you and maybe even figure out why you're not getting why you're not able to keep this level up. Any kind of brain fog when you're really low, or any kind of neurological issues?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So for some reason, then you are experiencing a low enough level of B12 that it's affecting you. Have you ever tried any of now, rather than supplement B12, what I'd rather look for are whole food supplements that are high in B12. When you eat a lot of animal products, are you eating a lot of organ meats?
I am not.
Okay.
I am not. I do eat sardines probably 3 times a week.
I know.
think those are high in
Sardines are
B12.
really high. Yeah, sardines are good. That's about 6. One serving of sardines, about 3 ounces, is 5 or 6 micrograms, which is more than 100% of what we're supposed to get every day. So I would try first. There's 2 ways we could approach this. You are probably at the point where we were talking with Dr. Wolfson yesterday that, we could either keep guessing and trying things, or his approach is test, don't guess. And you would work with somebody like him or a practitioner who's really good at blood analysis and then figuring out what cofactors we're missing. And we don't do a lot of that here. It's really intensive. You got to stay up on things. I kind of explained we like to be that first contact. We like to help people make those big changes in diet and lifestyle. We have some supplement programs that really work and we're comfortable with. When we get down to the mysteries, there doesn't seem to be any obvious reason why you're experiencing this. We end up spending way too much time trying to solve them because we just don't do enough of it. Somebody like my son, Michael, who has really focused on, he's like his strength is troubleshooting this kind of stuff, or Dr. Wolfson, who is at that level of really understands the blood work and really track down what's going on here. So those are 2 approaches. If you want to continue to kind of self-hack and try things and see what happens, I would look at our whole line of Ancestral supplements in our store. That's the name, Ancestral. They've got the beef, the kidneys, the spleen, the gonad hormones. I mean, virtually every organ in the body, they have it in a desiccated capsule form. That's almost whole food. I mean, there's nothing else in there. They just take the organ, they desiccate it, which is an intense way of drying it, turn it into a powder, and put it in a capsule. It's as close to whole food as we can get without trying to eat all those organs, which is almost impossible unless you live on a farm and you butcher your own animals. So I would try those.
Right, yeah.
Beef liver
I
has,
think I will.
in 1 ounce of beef liver has 20 micrograms. That's over 300% of what we need in a day. And almost all of their other organs, they include beef liver in there, because liver is like the king of the organs. So, and you're going to get all kinds of other cofactors. We're not just trying to overload you with B12. We're giving you a whole food that is really high in B12. So all of those cofactors should be in there. Even if we can't identify them all, they're in there. That's how nature works. So if you wanted to try one more thing, that's the path I would take. And I would give it about 2 weeks after you start taking it. And I would take at least their recommended dose. And I will tell you, it's kind of a pain in the ass because taking 5 capsules of beef liver every day and 5 capsules of, 3 or 4 of the other organs you want to take, it's a lot of capsules. But it's a really good way to get those organ meats, and it's very hard to get them otherwise.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not real big on the liver and stuff. So
Yeah,
I might just
most people aren't.
try that.
Yeah, most people aren't. So the seafood, maybe, even though that's high in B12, maybe it doesn't seem to be working for you. And I believe more in results than anything else. If you try it and it's not working, well, let's go try something else. At some point, we may have to go the route of a Dr. Wolfson, where we start testing. But in my experience, I've done lots of this over the years, sometimes because I was trying to solve a problem, and sometimes because that's how I learn. It's expensive. I wasn't even paying the doctor that I was working with for their services. I was simply paying for the testing we were doing with them. And I can easily wrap up $2,000 or $3,000 in testing.
Yeah. I probably not quite at that level yet.
Probably
I'll
not.
try with some
Yeah.
more
Look,
food
if
and
this was
supplements and stuff.
if this was something debilitating that was really affecting the quality
Yeah.
of your life, maybe we'd stop guessing and say, look, just go spend the money. It's going to be worth it. But that doesn't sound like what we're dealing with
Right.
here.
Yeah. No, we're not to that point. And he did say my folic acid was low, but he said it's probably because of my deficiency in B12 too. So
That's when we start getting into these weird vitamins and mineral things. That's why it gets so complicated, because you can never address just one thing. You have to figure out the puzzle that has about 100 pieces, and there's no picture on the puzzle. We just have to. So that's why it really almost requires people who do this every day.
yeah. All right. Well, I'll check out the store, and I got to order some more brain octane anyway. So
There you go.
I'll see what you got in there. And hey, it's starting to get cold up here in New Hampshire again, and I usually post pictures of me jumping into the river in the
that's
middle of
that's
winter.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see
Yeah.
those.
I'll post them. Sometimes I have to ride the snowmobile down to the river and bring my axe so I can get through the ice.
That's even better. One of these days,
Yeah, right.
One of these days, if it's thick enough and you can park the snowmobile on the ice and make the hole close to it, that would make an awesome picture.
Yeah, really. All right, Kevin, thanks for everything.
All right. Talk to you again soon. Thanks. Let's go to West Virginia. David, welcome to the program.
Hello, Kevin.
What's on your mind
oil
today?
sample I sent to you.
Let me go
sent you an oil sample.
see. Let me go check. Morgan did an awesome job, and it's right here in front of me. Let's take a look. So we've got a PACCAR MX. What year?
It's 2014. I bought the truck last year, and the dealership I bought it from told me that they had changed the oil when they got it. I don't really think they did. I think their mechanic changed the oil filters, but didn't actually change the oil. I had to guesstimate on the amount of miles. I put 75,000. I actually myself had put about 60,000 miles on it. I do use the catalyst every tank of fuel.
So
I'm not sure if there's anything to be worried about or not.
there might be, actually. So this is the first oil sample we have on this engine, right? There's no other history?
No, that's the first one.
So I have to make some guesses and some assumptions here, and I think you were spot on when you said that they didn't change the oil. The reason is your base is down to almost 1. Now, has the oil been changed since this sample?
Yeah, I changed the
Okay.
oil whenever I took the sample because when I pulled the filters out, I noticed that they weren't PACCAR filters, and they told me that they had put PACCAR filters in it. So that's what made me start thinking about it. So I went ahead and changed that, the whole oil, everything, all of it new.
These guys sound like a bunch of honest, great character people. We changed the oil. We put Paccar filters on it, and we caught them in 2 lies already. You know they didn't put Paccar filters. And when your base is at 1 and we've got oxidized oil, which you have, we could guess that maybe it's oxidized because it got hot, but there seems to be an awful lot of evidence it's just old oil.
Yeah, it was just old oil. And I bought this from that dealership up there in Sandusky that sells all them large cars. All the big hood trucks.
Did you really?
Yeah, I was one of them. I was one of them guys that went up there looking for one of them big outdated hooded trucks, and I walked their lot for 2 days, and then I finally pulled the trigger on the only aerodynamic truck they had.
Well, good. I stay away from that place. I swear they're just...
Yeah, I'm not going back there.
I don't want to call them crooks, but I'm going to call them scumbags. We need people like that out of our industry, really. I mean, look...
I agree with you because... I had other issues before I ever made it home with the truck.
I'm sure. Look, I'm not saying that everybody we deal with and everybody in the industry has to hold the highest standards. I wish they would. I wish more people would. I don't expect that. But I want the scumbags out of our industry. I want the people who lie and cheat and just take advantage of people's ignorance. That's what this is. They're not taking advantage of stupid people. They're taking advantage of ignorant people. And most of us are ignorant because our education system sucks. So I could go off on a whole rant, but these kind of people I have no patience for. I don't hold back. They're scumbags. They're possibly even crooks, and we should do everything we can to let people know about them and just try to drive them out of the industry. I started posting pictures every day from that company because I look at the people that are so happy and they're buying one of these big hoods, and I can almost guarantee about 80% of them are going to fail. Now, the last couple of years, nobody's been failing. So they'll go, oh, no, we sell these trucks all day long and our customers come back and buy more. Yeah, let's watch what happens in the next couple of years. Those people are going to be crashing and burning and dropping like flies. So I'm glad you told me that, though. That now, here's my concern, and I don't have enough information to know whether I'm right yet or not, but we can probably figure it out on the next sample. I would go 25,000. I want to say 15, but let's go 25 because if you do have the problem, we're probably going to be okay. Here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a little bit of lead, not enough to be too concerned, but I've got copper at 7. I'm worried that the reason the lead is so low, because we don't have any history, most of the lead might already be gone off the bearings.
Okay.
So that's why it would be low. If I had history, we'd be able to pick this up in a heartbeat. But there's copper there. And it's not enough copper to say, oh, it's just an oil cooler. Don't worry about it. You know what? I'm going to change my advice. I am going to say go to 25,000 and take another sample. Do you have a good shop you trust?
Okay. Yeah.
I know we just changed the oil and this kind of sucks, but I don't want to risk this one because we have so little history on this truck, and those people are scumbags and they sell some really, really crappy equipment. I would have your shop pull the pan and inspect the bearings.
Okay. That's what I was kind of thinking, but I wanted a second opinion.
I
kind of wish I wouldn't have run as far as I did before I did an oil sample. But...
Well, here's the thing. You didn't do any kind of damage that is going to cost you any more money. Now, had the bearings been bad enough, we could have wiped out an engine. But that didn't happen. So all that's occurred is maybe we put a little more wear on bearings that were already worn anyway, and we're going to replace them. So you didn't do anything that you're not going to have to pay any stupid tax over this. But I'm going to be a little cautious instead of waiting 25,000 miles and risking something like that happen. We're going to waste an oil change, but pull this pan and let somebody look at those bearings.
Okay. All right. Would it be a good idea just when they have it off, just go ahead and have them roll a new set in, or just look at them and go from there?
Again, that's why I asked if you trust your shop. Now, the other thing you could do,
I do trust.
Yeah, if they can get really good pictures of the bearings and you want to post them, and we could have some. If you're on truckingtribe.com, you can put them up there. We could have Pittsburgh Power review them and give you some advice. I could take a look at them. It will really depend at the condition of the bearings.
I'm only a couple hours from Pittsburgh Power. If they can get me in, I might just see if I can just take it there and let them pull it apart and look at it.
Then I would absolutely know you're in good hands.
Yeah.
And they'll tell you.
I trust my mechanic, but I don't use him enough. He's a good, like, Cummins and Cat mechanic. I don't know about the PACCAR. I would probably feel a little better if I had Pittsburgh Power look at it.
Unfortunately, there are no really good mechanics on the PACCAR engine in this country. We just haven't had it long enough. There are not enough of them. But this is a bearing issue. Bearings are bearings. I mean, Pittsburgh Power is...
Yeah, so anyone's available.
Yeah, I really trust that when they look at them, they'll give you the correct advice. Yes, there's some wear, but, we should probably just let them ride. Or, no, we've already got the pan down. They're worn a lot. Let's replace them. Now, one other question. Okay. What's the oil consumption like on this truck?
In the 65,000 miles I put on the truck, I put 1 gallon of oil in it.
Okay, so we have no problems at all with the cylinder kits. So we're not going to be doing an in-frame anytime soon. And the reason that matters is because we look at the bearings and we caught them in time. There's some wear, but they're not horrible. And we're probably going to be doing an in-frame within a year. Well, then we might as well wait. But these cylinder kits probably have, I could throw a guess out there, they have 500,000 miles left on them probably. So
that's kind of what I was thinking.
So we're probably going to be looking at a set of bearings. But let somebody verify that.
Okay, I can do that. I'm going to be taking a couple weeks off here soon anyway. So
here's why we can't be
I'll get
sure.
a hold of them up there and see what they...
Without history, this could be the lead's low. My mind is, well, what if we don't have any lead left? The copper's at 7. This is really, really old oil. That may just be a buildup of copper. We may pull the pan down and the bearings may look like new.
Yes.
And that would be wonderful.
Okay.
And then we just keep sampling and, we dodged a bullet and everything's fine. If we pull it down and it needs bearings, so what? Let's throw them in. My question would be then, why did it need bearings? And the only answer I could come up with is, since it's a new engine and it's never really been rebuilt, my answer would be it's really been abused.
Okay. Yeah, I am about to hit 900,000 on it. So.
Yeah. So let somebody look at the bearings and then we'll know what we should do.
Okay. All right. I appreciate the advice. Thank you, Kevin.
All right. You're welcome. And if you get a chance, call me back and let me know the outcome. All right. Let me check because I think we have Rolling Toe scheduled today. And Rolling Toe is ready to start right now. I am going to... I'm sending them a message right now. Stand by. One of the things I'm really, really looking forward to do, and our team is working on it hard, when we get our broadcast app finished, we will have the ability to, one, schedule our shows better. Right now, I just like to go as long as I have calls and questions. And when I ask for questions, I hate to hang up on people and leave them hanging. But I also know that Mike and Kevin are ready to start right now. So this is a temporary issue. I'm going to take these calls. I ask for them. I'm going to take them. We're going to go quick. I'm not going to tell any stories or chat. I'm just going to get right to somebody's question and answer it. So, Mike, what can I help you with?
Hey, Kev, how you doing? Long time listener. You helped me
Thank
out
you.
on a call about 5 years ago.
Good.
Really changed my life, I have to say.
Excellent.
I have like problems with people thinking I'm younger than I am, which is really terrible.
I love that.
We were talking about sleep the other day, and I use a sleep apnea machine. I can sleep without it, but man, it sure makes me feel good when I sleep with it. And I get 6 hours, and I get up, and it just like
And so
I'm good to go.
well, real quick, because I could address what you just said, but if you have a specific question, I'll wait for that too.
Well, no real question.
Okay, then-
I'm other than
Let me
I
just
said-
address.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, let me just address the issue then. If you listened to Dr. Wilson yesterday, I love his line. I'm going to steal it. You are not deficient in a sleep apnea machine. The fact that it makes you sleep
Agreed.
better tells us something is wrong. So I'm glad that it makes you feel better, but your goal should be to figure out what's wrong and fix it so you don't need the machine anymore.
Yeah, that's true. I have to agree with that. I tried a lot of different stuff. I'm not sure really at this point what it would possibly be. I'm
that
almost
trust me.
carnivore.
It diet honestly can sometimes actually make this worse. Good diets can make this worse. That's been my case. If I go really extreme carnivore or keto, I feel fantastic. My sleep deteriorates until now because I finally found the root cause of mine. So when you say you've done everything, have you worked with any practitioner yet?
No.
That's
No.
probably what you're going to have to
Well,
do.
other than I did a call with you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've actually looked for one nearby, and there's not that many near me.
So
And
I know I have a lot of projects going on right now. I'm probably way too spread out, but I am working on putting together a program that fixed my problem because I had been through virtually everything and it wasn't it. It did turn out to be, as odd as it might sound, some adaptogens and some herbs and a little bit of the right magnesium that kind of broke what was, or fixed what was broken, broke my cycle of not being able to fix this. Those answers are very personalized. Like there's a group
Yeah,
of
I
26 adaptogens we could work with, and we kind of have to personalize them a little bit. The same with the herbs. The magnesium blend we're bringing in, I have a meeting today with this company. It's a new vendor for us. Their magnesium blend, I think, is outstanding. And we're going to bring it into our store. And I think that would be something everybody who's having sleep issues should try. Magnesium is another one of those very complicated minerals. There's multiple forms of it. It needs all kinds of cofactors to work right. This blend is by far the best I've found. Some people might be able to take this one magnesium supplement and really improve their sleep. Others might see some improvement, and then we could look at some of the adaptogens as well. So if I were you, I would say, keep using your sleep apnea machine when you need to. Any night that you could afford to have a less than ideal sleep, I might skip it and start getting your body used to not having it. It's like everything else. No different than me using cannabis and saying, well, I use it because it works. Well, it works, but it's still a crutch. And we shouldn't need crutches.
No, you're right. I was going to say, I wonder if it's more like almost like habitual.
Oh, it is.
Where,
part of it is.
Like I've got
part of it
used
is.
to it.
Yeah.
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 But because when I don't use it, I still sleep I still sleep pretty dang good.
Oh, then stop using
You know, I don't feel any.
it. Then stop using it. Now, if you stop and after 3 or 4 or 5 days you start to say, "Oh man, I'm getting really tired during the day," well, then go back. For now, I did it with cannabis. I came on and said, "Look, I know I need to stop this. It's not helping the problem. It's become a crutch." But until I could fix the problem, I kept using it.
If I could, I would too.
Yeah, well, I know.
I'd use it.
Yeah, and it's a shame you can't, honestly, because it's a crutch, but it's a good
I know.
crutch. It you know,
No, and you know what? It's not just for sleeping, but I mean, just for the stress and being able to relax.
You know,
and
how about
let
this?
everything just kind of roll off you.
Yeah, I love all those reasons, and I think people understand where I stand on this. But how about this? I just wrote this in a post. I did take my 30 days off, quit completely, fix the sleep, so I won't go back to using it as a crutch to sleep because I won't need to anymore. I think I finally figured this out. You know what I like about it now? It's fun sometimes. It feels good. Yeah, just for the pure enjoyment of it.
Yeah, it's like, why do you drink? Because it feels good.
Exactly. And
Why don't you do it?
I gave up the alcohol. I found out how bad that was for me. It's awful. It's a toxin. Our body.
Oh, you're absolutely right. If I have a couple drinks, I feel it 2 days later.
Our body does not produce any of its own alcohol. It wouldn't do that because it's a toxin. Our body does not want that. There is some weird cases where people have gut bacteria that's so screwed up, their stomach actually starts to ferment their food into alcohol, and they get absolutely trashed without drinking any alcohol. It's a crazy syndrome. But that's a problem. The human body shouldn't do that. But our body produces all kinds of cannabinoids, which is what THC and CBD and CBN and CBG, they're all cannabinoids. Our body produces a ton of its own cannabinoids. It's part of every system in our body, our digestive system, our brain, our immune system, loaded with cannabinoid receptors. So there's a huge difference between using something like cannabis and alcohol. Same results, basically. We do it because we relax and it feels good and it's enjoyable. But I've certainly made my mind up on which one I prefer. All right. Mike, got to cut you loose. I am going to rush these last couple of calls. I want to take them and I want to get you your answer, but I also want to get Mike and Kevin on here so they can do it as well. Terrence, welcome. Terrence. Uh-oh. I can hear something there in the background. Terrence? Oh, no, I'm sorry. Hold on, I clicked on the wrong line. Mike. In Wyoming.
Yes.
There you go.
Hello, Kevin. How are you doing?
I was looking at
I'll
one
make this
button
quick.
and pressed another one.
Yeah, no worries. Just a public service message to everybody driving down the I-80 near Wham Shutters. Sorry. These roads are atrocious, Kevin. So there's wrecks everywhere, right? I'm at mile 189, and there's trucks everywhere.
So you gotta
just thought I'd get that out to everybody.
You gotta back up a second. You said a city or something there. I don't even know what part of the world we're in right now.
Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin. Wham Shutters, Wyoming. Okay?
Got it.
You're gonna
Okay.
hit a big backup.
Got it. Oh,
At
yeah.
mile marker 189. There's trucks everywhere. There's cars. It's a big wreck.
So just if
the roads look like a skating rink.
If you're anywhere near that area, just get the hell off the road.
Yeah, I'm kind of stuck in it, and I got no way of getting out other than just pushing on. The other observation I made, I was out in California, and I was watching these three gentlemen walking around with clipboards, so the repos are starting on the trucks. So,
oh yes, there's going to be a bunch of cheap trucks in about 6 months. The prices are still holding way higher than I think they should be right now, but it's not going to last.
No, like 2020 Volvo 860 right? With 600,000 miles, they want 104,000
Oh, no
for it.
way.
So to me, that,
No way.
yes.
Oh,
Exactly.
anybody who buys
Yep,
that truck
seven-
they should have their head examined. I would poke my eyes out with a
Exactly.
knitting needle before I would buy that.
Exactly, Kevin.
Ah.
So that's all I wanted to
Hey-
share with you.
hey,
right?
Mike,
You know how bad
Yeah.
it started to get.
I have a
What's that?
feeling we could have gone easy 15 minutes on this. Call me back sometime soon.
Yeah, I will do. Thanks, Kevin.
All
Okay,
right.
bye.
Thank you for the update. One more call, then I'm going to hand this over to Mike and Kevin Beckett. So we will close out this show, as it will take us less than 10 minutes to get them back on, and you should flood them with phone calls too. Terrence, were you screaming at your phone a little bit ago?
Yes, I was.
I
You
knew
think
you
I would
were.
know better? I didn't hear the sound, and I'm hitting buttons. I'm going, why am I on mute? I'm going, no, it had to be Kevin.
Yeah, it was me. It was
So
me.
yes, I was screaming and yelling at the phone.
I figured you would.
But
be.
as far as that, go ahead. Yeah, as far as that guy, I wanted to give that guy a heads up that was looking for the liver and the kidney. U.S. Wellness makes a fantastic 70-30 blend of that. And this is so funny that about this is because if he's worried about taste, now my fiance yesterday calls because I want to make some chili. I bought like $2,000 worth of meat from U.S. Wellness.
Nice.
About 3 months ago, planning on this. I was like, you know what, stuff's going up. Long story short, I bought a whole bunch of this, and I didn't tell her. I thought I got chopped meat.
Right.
So if I took chopped meat out, I didn't say it. And there was times where she got her own chopped meat out, I just didn't look.
Right.
Well, she calls me yesterday. I don't know if what you got. I don't know about this the liver and I said we've been eating it. She goes, no, we haven't. I said, okay, I'm not. Don't listen. We haven't. I'm not going to argue.
That's right.
That's no point.
Right.
And then within 10 minutes later, she started browning the meat for the chili. This stuff's unbelievable. I said,
It actually tastes
So,
better.
If that guy has a problem,
It actually tastes better
and
than
you know what's
plain
better
ground
about
beef.
it?
Go ahead.
Yep, and it's better it's better later on, the second day.
Yeah, you're
because
right.
It's like it sucked it back in.
I'm glad you called. This is I shouldn't have missed this. Two things. That ground beef is awesome, and you can put it in all kinds of things. You make burgers out of it, and they're really good. Throw it in chili, spaghetti sauce.
Yep.
Scramble some with eggs or whatever you want. But also, don't forget about their liverwurst. Their liverwurst is some of the best I've ever eaten.
Oh my God. Yep.
Yeah. So even if
All right, I know you got to go. I just
Yeah.
wanted to give that public.
Thank you. Call me back again soon. Even if you don't think you would like liverwurst, if you've never tried it, try U.S. Wellness Meats. That stuff's amazing. All right, I'm going to get out of here. Mike and Kevin are standing patiently by. I'm going to close out this show. The new show should be up and running here in 5 to 10 minutes. And do me a favor, call these guys. Talk about anything you want. If you have questions about tires, alignment, handling issues, that kind of stuff, inflation, absolutely call them. You'll get all your questions answered the right way. All right, we will see you back here tomorrow, and I do believe both Joel and John are good for trucking technology. Oh, no, Joel can't make it. He's actually doing some filming for Volvo tomorrow. It'll be John and I. That'll be fun. John's got a lot to catch up on. We'll see you then. Be safe, be profitable, be fit and healthy. Always do the hard work and master the journey.